In a bizarre yet classic display of TYT reactionism, Cenk smears Tulsi to attack Jimmy in order to own a random Twitter follower who criticizes him for his defense of Neera Tanden. Let's talk about it. What's up, everybody? Thank you all so much for tuning into this segment of Mikasa Sukasa. Of course, as always, I'm your humble host, Niko House. Today, we're going to talk about Cenk deciding to engage in a smear of Tulsi in order to attack Jimmy or defend himself against an attack against Jimmy for defending Neera. And it's just all kinds of ludicrous and malarkey. But before we go ahead and get the show on the road, don't forget you can support the show by scanning any of these QR codes, or of course, clicking on that Linktree link in the description below, where you can find our Patreon, you can find our Cash App, PayPal, all that good stuff. You can find it there. Or of course, once again, you can become a Rockfin Premium member, or you can tip the show on Rockfin as well, or you can do a super chat on Rockfin too now. So that's awesome. Shout out to Rockfin for doing big things. Now, with that being said, let's go ahead and get the show on the road. So, as you all know, Neera Tanden has been appointed to one of the most important positions in the White House. And unfortunately, at this point, it's kind of unsurprising, right? Now, as expected, Cenk didn't give a sufficient criticism of this. Now, in his defense, he claims that his defense of the Neera Tanden appointment was sarcasm. He said it later on, but he came under a lot of attack over it because, let's be honest. It's weird when he pretends as if when he sarcastically uplifts the establishment. I guess that's what you want to call it. Sarcastically uplifting the establishment, because you unironically uplift the establishment so often that we are unable to discern between you being sarcastic when you're sucking the establishment's gigantic Johnson and when you're being genuine when you're sucking the establishment's gigantic Johnson. We don't know the difference anymore, Cenk. That's a you problem, not an us problem. But I digress. Now, Tim Black apparently had something to say. Y'all know I don't really mess with Tim like that. I'm not going to pretend to care like what he got to say. But he criticized Cenk over his comments, and Cenk really felt some type of way about it. Then he responded, basically throwing the left under the bus, etc., etc. So one of his followers had something to say about that. And he ain't even appreciating on that. Now look what he got to say. Said everyone on the left knows you're a phony. Thank God Jimmy left TYT. Speaking of gospel, Evelyn Stark. This is Cenk's response though. If the Trump supporting left thinks I'm a phony, then I'm definitely doing something right. Now tell me again why Tulsi Gabbard supporting torture, Trump, and other right-wing positions are more left than Bernie and I are. You guys are hilarious. Bruh. There is a lot happening in this tweet. This person says everyone on the left knows you're a phony. Thank God Jimmy left TYT. And Cenk basically he snitched on himself by extrapolating all of these different details and assumptions that no one else put out there except for him. I mean, generally we discuss these things, but I'm just saying, this conversation had nothing to do with any of this stuff. And what makes it even worse, let's go ahead and, if the Trump supporting, in what world is this, Evelyn Stark is a Trump supporting leftist? Based off of what? Not based off of this response. So did you go and stalk this person's profile? Maybe they are a Trump supporting leftist. I don't know. But the fact that Trump is out here stalking people's profiles to figure out they're Trump supporting leftists, quote unquote, that's already weird in and of itself, Cenk. That's not a good look, bro. It's not a good look. You run a company, pretty big one. It's like Trump tweeting from the toilet at 3 a.m. when he's the president of the United States. Why are you that obsessed with a random ass Twitter person? Just saying. So there's that. But there's nothing in here that demonstrates any type of Trump supporting leftism. Not only that, but if this is a leftist who happens to support Trump this go around, you have literally nothing to judge. You Mr. I'm going to use my massive 5 million subscriber base to fundraise for Biden via email. Make sure that TYT logo's up there. You have nothing to say. I don't support Trump nor Biden. But I respect a Trump supporter more than I will expect a bootlicking fake progressive Biden supporter who's only doing it for their career, whereas the person who supports Trump is probably doing it because they think, well, let's just see how it goes. At least he's somewhat anti-establishment. At least he wants to pull troops out of Afghanistan. At least he wants to hold big tech accountable, whereas Cenk ingratiates himself with big tech, right? So, like, I would have more respect for that person than you, but either way, what room do you have to judge? You voted for Biden and you pushed him. So there's that. Let's continue. So then I'm definitely doing something right. No, you've literally done everything. Just about everything wrong for the last 4 years. And he said, now tell me again why Tulsi Gabbard supporting. Where did this even come from? I'm not joking. Go click on the tweet yourself, people. This doesn't make any sense in the context of the comment. But Tulsi Gabbard supporting torture. When did Tulsi Gabbard never supported torture? She said one time in one interview where they randomly caught her off guard about one specific report that I'm conflicted about the report itself because she hadn't seen it. That's what she said. But she's voted 100% against torture, not only at like the legislative level on the floor, but at the committee level. Cenk knows this because Cenk interviewed her and even told Anna on air live that it was unfair to not call or to call Tulsi or to say that Tulsi isn't a progressive. Cenk said that was unfair. And that's one of the only things that Cenk got right for the last 3 years. You know that. You know she doesn't support torture. You know her record on torture. But you specifically wanted to try and rile up the anti-Tulsi, anti-Jimmy left. The TYT leftist best jock riders. Because you thought that they would come to your defense here. But I'm gonna be honest with you guys. Cenk got hilariously ratioed. Hilariously ratioed. Now, he said Tulsi supports Trump. Bro, how many videos has Tulsi done criticizing Trump? Like literal videos during her campaign. Not to mention some of her most famous statements are like during her campaign were calling out Trump. Trump and his chicken hawk cabinet. Calling out Trump on immigration. Calling out Trump with Ilhan Omar. What are you talking about? Trump supporting? One, I would hope she has to work with him. Because she's a congresswoman. At some point, she's going to have to work with him. So, like, yeah, you can not support a president. But you can support some positive things that he may do in his capacity as president. Because that's your job to do so. Because you're a congresswoman. But Tulsi's the only one who tried to censor Trump on what he actually did wrong. When everybody else was trying to put out this fake impeachment, push this fake impeachment that they knew was illegitimate, she's the one who actually, said, hey, maybe we should mention the bombing of innocent children in Yemen, the bombing of innocent people in Syria without investigation. Maybe we should mention those things. Maybe we should mention what's happening in Israel and Palestine. That's not what they want. Maybe we should mention the kids in cages and what's going on with them. No, none of that. Talk about Ukraine. Nah. She's the only one who actually tried to hold up account. Not the No More Presidential Wars Act that was specifically introduced during the Trump administration to make sure he couldn't step outside of the parameters given to him to go to war. Which is basically you're not supposed to do anything until like any major large-scale military operation without the consent of Congress first. She tried to hold him accountable about it, and the Democrats didn't want to do it. I mean, So what are you talking about, Cenk? And what are you talking about, Bernie and you? Cenk, first of all, like, if you want to talk about people's past, like, because I understand Tulsi is not perfect by any stretch of the imagination, but like, let's talk about, you want to talk about past, bro? Like, it took you to what, 40 years old to not only not like be a liberal, like, you were a conservative, a neocon. Then you became a liberal. Then because Bernie Sanders became popular, all of a sudden you became the home of the progressives, which basically just meant neoliberal, but we say we like Murdy and Medicare for all, but we don't actually do anything to further any of those causes or fight for people. Like, you and Bernie is actually became more conservative as he's gotten older, but at least Bernie has a super progressive path. Bernie was an all-out socialist in policy and in politics. You, on the other hand, went from being a right-wing, a neocon, to basically a neocon-like, a neoliberal, a Democrat, and now you're just a Democrat who pretends to be progressive. Tulsi's career and advocacy compared to yours, it's like not even a comparison. And that goes for both Tulsi and Jimmy. The fact that you get so upset about everything involving Jimmy Dore is hilarious. The fact that you think that smearing Tulsi will distract people from just how corrupt, ridiculous, childish, ignorant, stupid, duplicitous, faithless that you have been. Like, it's hilarious. It's hilarious, but it's also just sad at this point. Because I'm reading the tweet and I'm like, bro, this is where we're at now. Look, I just had to put this up here. Somebody brought, because Cenk was trying to say, no, I was being sarcastic when I was defending Niko Tanner. Just wanted to bring this up. Somebody said, sometimes you just got to drink that tall glass of shut up. Bruh, got to pick. Y'all got to remember, Cenk interviewed Niko Tanner. Very friendly, very nice interview. You know, the same Niko Tanner who Bernie literally had to write a letter to the Syrian American Progress because they were using the $1 billion that they did, the millions of dollars that they got from billionaire funding to smear Bernie, and not only smear Bernie, but smear even progressive causes specifically. Remember that Niko Tanner? But all of a sudden, I mean, you know, they brought on Madeleine, Gloria Allred too. No, they brought on Madeleine Albright. That's what it was. So I'm not all that surprised by that, right? Anna's hero, yeah. Jimmy is 100 times the journalist, commentator, culture critic, whatever you want to call it. But he's 100 times the journalist you are. And 1,000 times more principled than you are. Tulsi is infinitely more principled than you are. Clearly a better politician too, because she wins her races. That's crazy. Huh, man. Guess you wouldn't know about that, coming in dead last. With a bunch of money and a bunch of endorsements behind you. Give it up, Cenk. I'm sorry, bro. The chickens are coming home roost. You're going to have to ride this Biden train until we rip the wheels off. You can come at Tulsi. You can come at Jimmy. You can try to attack the anti-establishment left all you want to distract from the fact that you're going to have to prop up the actual establishment because you helped to put them there instead of challenging them. Whereas Jimmy and Tulsi, and of course people like myself, did try to challenge them. Did try to hold people accountable. Did discuss election integrity. Did try to fix the elections. Did try to make sure that progressives actually stood a chance to win. But you told everybody to look the other way. And the way you react to things like that, like this reaction is insane to me, bro. This reaction is insane to me. But the way you react to it shows just how unhinged and potentially and probably guilt-ridden you actually are. It's okay, bro. You sold out. Just accept it. Move on. Stop taking everything so personal. You gotta be like Alyssa Milano. You know, Alyssa Milano sells out. She don't take stuff personal. She just takes those licks. Cause you know, like, I know what I'm doing. This is completely and totally inauthentic takes. Completely and totally inauthentic. I know what I'm doing. This is all an act. This is a brand. This is a face that I'm putting on in order to gain money by playing people and pretending as if I'm advocating for progress that I'm not actually advocating for. I'm merely advocating for the progress of my bank account. That's you, Cenk. Stop taking everything so personally. You're not Tulsi. You're not Jimmy. Hell, you and Trump are really kind of close, believe it or not. Y'all are much more close than you would think. He's very egotistical as well. You know, he's a megalomaniac as well. He takes things personally, especially when he's in the wrong as well. So y'all got a lot more common than you think. I'm surprised you don't like Trump. Well, you know what they say though, right? They say that if you have an irrational disdain for somebody, it's because they have many or most of the qualities that you have, and you subconsciously or unconsciously know. Food for thought, Jake. Go ahead and chew on that one.